Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Afzal Saifi and today I am going to discuss the offer and acceptance. So this offer and acceptance is one of the essential element of a valid contract. In fact, it is the first essential element of a valid contract. And the definition, the legal concept of the term offer is given under section 2A, and the concept of the acceptance is defined under section 2B. Now, before taking the things in detail, first of all, it is necessary that we have to understand that the term offer and the proposal are synonyms. The word proposal and offers are synonyms and they are used interchangeably. And section 2A of the Indian Contract Act defines the term proposal or offer as when a person signifies to another his willingness to do or to abstain from doing anything with the view to obtaining the consent or assent of that other party to such act or abstinence, he is said to make a proposal. So this is the concept, the legal definition of the term offer, which is given under section 2A. So, my dear friend, the term proposal or offer is an expression of one party to another to do or abstain from doing anything with the objective of obtaining the assent of that other party into the contract. That is the ultimate purpose of every offer. So we just take certain example of the offer and the proposal. Just any casual inquiry, like if you are saying to any person that do you intend to sell your motorcycle, it is not a proposal. Or if A said to B that I may sell my bike for rupees 20,000, it is also not a proposal. But if A said to B that I want to sell my bike for rupees 20,000, will you purchase it? It is a clear cut example of the offer, because the statement I want to sell my bike for rupees 20,000, will you purchase it? This statement clearly shows the intention of one party to another that he is ready to sell his bike. So this constitutes a classical example of a valid offer. Now we will discuss certain legal rules regarding a valid offer. Number one, an offer may be express or implied. Express offer means an offer which is made either by the words of mouth or in a writing form is known as express offer. Or when an offer is inferred, or when an offer is came into existence just because of the situation or the circumstances of the case so warranted, so it is an example of the implied offer, right? So if A said to B by the words of mouth that he is willing to sell his bike for rupees 20,000, it is an example of the express offer, because A shows his intention to sell his bike by the words of mouth. Another example of the express offer, if A writes a letter to B that he wants to sell out his house to B for rupees 80 lakh, it is also an example of the express offer, because all these two offers are made either by the words of mouth or in a writing form. Now, implied offer means an offer which came into existence due to the situation of the case or due to the circumstances so warranted. I'm just giving an example. The things becomes clear. My dear friend, the Delhi Transport Corporation DTC runs a number of buses on the different routes of Delhi. So when the DTC runs the different buses, the AC buses, the non-AC buses, and the other buses to carry out the passengers from one place to another place, so it is an implied offer from the side of DTC. Once you have board on the bus, it means you are accepting the offer of the DTC and there is a binding contract between the passenger and the DTC. Therefore, when you are using the services of DTC, it means you are bound to pay the fixed fare for your journey to the Delhi Transport Corporations. If you are not paying the fares, if you are not taking the tickets from the conductor in the DTC bus, it means that you are make a violation of the law. Although the conductor not invites you to board on the bus by the words of mouth. Although the conductor not invites you to board on the bus by writing a letter. But when the buses are running on the different routes of the Delhi by the DTC, it is itself an offer to the passenger. Once the passenger board on the bus, it means there is a binding contract between you and the DTC. Therefore, you have to pay the charges for the services you have enjoyed offered by the DTC. That is an example of the implied offer. Then we have number two, an offer must give rise to legal consequences. So, if the offer does not intend to give rise to legal consequences, it is not treated as a valid offer in the eye of law. So, for example, an offer made to a friend to take the lunch together, it is not a valid offer. An offer made to another friend to show her a movie in the theater, it is also not treated as a valid offer. Because, as such, in these offers, there is a lack of intention to create the legal consequences. So, if your offer is capable to create the legal consequences between the contracting parties, then it is treated as a valid offer. But if your offer is not capable to create the legal consequences, the legal obligation between the contracting parties, it is not treated as a valid offer. Therefore, all the offers of social nature, all the offers of domestic natures are not treated as a valid offer. Number three, the terms of the offer must be certain and definite. What does it mean? It means when you have made an offer to anybody, the terms and the condition of the offer must be certain, must be definite in order to create the clarity in the mind of the person to whom you have made the offer, to whom you want to enter into the contract. The person should be conveyed the clarity about your proposal. If the offer or the proposal is vague, or if there is an ambiguity in your offer, it not constitutes a valid offer. So it is necessary when any offer is given to any person, the terms and the condition of the offer must be certain and must be definite in the mind of the offerer as well as in the mind of the offering. Then only it can constitute a valid offer. There should not be any kind of confusion. There should not be any kind of the ambiguity in the offer which you have made to the other party. Number four, an offer may be specific or general. So offer may be two type, the specific offer, the general offer. A specific offer means when you have made an offer to an specific person, it is treated as an specific offer because only that specific person have the right to accept your offer. Other than that person, all are excluded. What does it mean? It means if there are two parties, if A said to B, I want to sell my bike to you, or only to you for rupees 10,000, will you purchase it? It is an example of the specific offer. What does it mean? Why it is a specific offer? Because only that person have the right to accept your offer. Other than that person, the other individuals are not accept your offer, or they are not eligible in fact to accept your offer, because this is a specific offer which is made only to a specific person. Now, the another type is the general offer. General offer means an offer which is made to the public at large or to the world at large. So, in case of the general offer, anybody from the public, any person who fulfill the eligibility criteria can accept your offer, right? So, this is an example of the general offer. If in a classroom, if you said that I want to sell my laptop, anybody can purchase it for rupees 20,000. So this is an example of the general offer, because anybody from that classroom can accept your offer legally, right? And if in the same classroom, if you said that I want to sell my laptop to Mr. Rakesh, what does it mean? It means only Mr. Rakesh can accept your offer. So this is an example of the specific offer. So offer may be specific or offer may be general. Number 5, an offer must be communicated to the offeree. So there are two parties. The person who made the offer is known as the offerer, and the person to whom the offer is made is known as the offeree. जो ऑफर दे रहा है, that person is known as the offerer. जिसको ऑफर मिल रहा है, that person is known as the offeree. So for constituting a valid offer, it is necessary that the offerer should communicate their offer to the offeree, because if the offerer does not communicate their offer to the offeree, how the offeree can express their willingness to enter into the contract, right? So if you want to accept the acceptance from the offeree, it is necessary that your intention, your willingness, your proposal must be communicated to that person with whom you want to enter into the contract. जिसके साथ आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में एंटर होना चाहते हैं, जिसको आप कोई प्रोडक्ट सेल करना चाहते हैं, अगर आप जब तक उसको ये इंटेंशन, ये ऑफर अपना कम्युनिकेट नहीं करेंगे, हाउ ही और शी विल कम्युनिकेट देयर एक्सेप्टेंस टू दैट ऑफर. That is why I am saying that being the offerer, it is your responsibility that you have to make sure that your proposal, your offer must be communicated to the offeree. That is the next essential element regarding the valid offer. Number 6, an offer can be subject to any terms and condition. What does it mean? It means according to the law, the offerer who made the offer is free to attach any terms and the condition with his offer. So if you have made an offer to any person, you are free to attach any terms and the condition with your offer, and it is the responsibility of the offeree that if he wants to enter into the contract with you, it is necessary for him that he should accept your all terms and the condition if he wants to enter into the contract with you. Now, the law clearly mentioned that the offerer is free to attach any terms and the condition with the offer he made. Even the terms and conditions are seems to be very funny. So, my dear friend, अगर आप अपनी बाइक बेचना चाहते हैं किसी को, और if you want to sell any object, any lawful object to any person, you are totally free to attach any terms and the condition with your offer along with the money. अगर आप किसी ऑफरी से ये कहें कि ओके आई एम रेडी टू सेल माई बाइक फॉर रुपीज 40,000 टू यू, बट इफ यू वांट्स टू परचेज माई बाइक, देन इट इज नेसेसरी दैट यू हैव टू कम टू माई हाउस एंड you must bring a rose for me, or you must wear a t-shirt and the black jeans, then only I will sell my bike to you. So these are the extra conditions. Although these conditions seems to be very funny, but still these terms and the conditions are perfectly valid. Being the offerer, you are free to attach any lawful term and the condition with your offer, and it is the responsibility of the offeree that he should accept your all terms and the condition along with the price which you have quoted to sell the bike. Then we have point number 7, to identical cross offer do not make a contract. So when two parties make identical offers to each other in ignorance of each other's offer, the offers are cross offer. Cross offer do not constitute acceptance of one's offer by the other, because as such there is no completed agreement. I am just giving an example to give you more clarity regarding the point number 7, identical cross offer. So if there are two party A and party B, right? So A wants to sell 100 kg of sugar to B for rupees 10,000. And for communicating his offer, A write a letter to B, and this letter is posted by A on 3rd June 2022 at the address of B. At the same time and at the same date, B also write a letter, and he shows his intention in the letter that he wants to sell 100 kg of sugar for rupees 10,000 to A, and the letter is also posted by the B at the address of A. So this is what? This is the counter offer. A also made a similar type of the offer to B, and ignorance of A's offer, B also write a letter to communicate the similar type of offer to A. So this counter offer or this similar and identical cross offer do not make a contract. The another important part of the offer is lapses or revocation of an offer. Lapses means how and when the life of an offer is comes to an end. Revocation means to withdraw the offer, right? Number 1, an offer lapses after stipulated or reasonable time. See, when you have received an offer, it is your duty that you have to communicate your acceptance to the offerer within a reasonable time. Or if the time frame is mentioned in the offer, if the offerer mentioned the time frame in the offer, then it is the responsibility of the offeree that he should accept the offer within a prescribed time frame. But if no time frame is mentioned, if there is no time frame is mentioned in the offer, then the offeree should communicate his acceptance within a reasonable time. Because no offer can be standing for an indefinite period of time. Every offer has some time. If time frame is not mentioned, then reasonable time is applies. If time frame is mentioned in the offer, then you have to accept the offer within a prescribed time frame. Number 2, an offer lapses by not being accepted in the mode prescribed. So as just I have told you in the previous slide that the offerer is free to attach any terms and the condition with his offer. It is the responsibility of the offeree that he should accept the offer with its all terms and the condition. So an offer is also lapses if the offeree not fulfill all the terms and the condition mentioned in the offer. Number 3, an offer lapses by rejection. So being the offeree, when you have received an offer from the offerer, you have two options. Either you have accept the offer. If you accept the offer, then you have to communicate your acceptance to the offerer. But if you want to reject the offer, then offer is also lapses by your rejection. Rejection means you does not want to enter into the contract with the offerer. You does not want to accept his offer. So an offer is also lapses by rejection. Rejection से भी offer lapse हो जाएगा. Either you have to accept it or either you have to reject the offer. So an offer is also lapses once you have rejected. Number 4, an offer lapses by the death, insanity of the offerer or the offeree before acceptance. Insanity means when a person becomes a person of unsound mind, right? So, if you have received an offer from the offerer, and before the acceptance of that offer, the person who made you the offer becomes the person of unsound mind. The offer is lapses, the offer is comes to an end by the operation of law, by default. Or when you have received an offer from the offerer and still you are not accepting the offer, and before your acceptance the offerer dies in an accident, right? The offerer dies in an accident, again the offer is lapses by the death of the offerer. And the similar case is also applies in case of the offeree. So if the offerer gives an offer to the offeree and the offeree becomes the person of unsound mind before the acceptance, the offer is lapses. If the offerer gives an offer to the offeree, but before the acceptance of that offer, the offeree is dies in an accident, again the offer is lapses by the death or the insanity. So this death or the insanity is applies in case of the offerer as well as in the offeree. So either in the on the event of the death of the offerer or either on the event of the insanity of the offeree, the offer is lapses. Number 5, an offer lapses by revocation. So revocation means to withdraw, right? So if the offerer who made the offer himself withdraw his offer before its acceptance, the offer is lapses by revocation, right? So this is something like when I have made an offer to you, right? But before your acceptance, I myself revoke my offer. So this offer is lapses by revocation. ओके, तो अगर एक ऑफरर ने किसी को ऑफर दिया है एंड बिफोर द एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ दैट ऑफर द ऑफरर हिमसेल्फ विथड्रॉ हिज ऑफर, so this offer is lapses by revocation. The next is acceptance, and the concept and the definition of the term acceptance is given in section 2b of the Indian Contract Act. Section 2b clearly mentioned that a proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise, and define acceptance as when a person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent, the proposal is said to be accepted. So this definition is given in section 2b. Therefore, on the basis of this definition, which is given in section 2b, we can say that a proposal is said to be accepted when a person to whom the offer or proposal is made shows his consent. The proposal is said to be accepted from the offeree side. Then we have some legal rules regarding the valid acceptance. So the first legal rules regarding the valid acceptance is acceptance must be given by the person to whom the offer is made. So an offer can be accepted only by the person or persons to whom it is made and with whom, being the offerer, you are intended to enter into the contract. It cannot be accepted by other person without the consent of the offerer. The rule is very clear. If you propose to make a contract with A, if you want to enter into the contract with A, then B cannot substitute himself for A without your consent. An offer made to a particular person can be validly accepted by him alone. So your offer may be specific and your offer may be general. So in case of your specific offer, if you have made an specific offer to a specific person, only that specific person, only that particular person is entitled to accept your offer. But if your offer is general offer, if your offer is made to the general public at large, then anybody from the public can accept your offer, right? Then we have acceptance must be absolute and unqualified. According to section 7, subsection 1, in order to be legally effective, it must be an absolute and unqualified acceptance of all the terms of the offer. Even the slightest deviation from the terms of the offer makes the acceptance invalid. For example, if there are two parties A and B, and A wants to sell his scooter to B for rupees 10,000 and B also ready to purchase it for rupees 10,000, but the B gives him only rupees 3,000 as an advance, and for the remaining 7,000 B promised to give this remaining amount in the evening. So this is not an absolute acceptance. This is not the acceptance in totality of the offer. So this acceptance is not treated as a valid acceptance. Therefore, it is clearly mentioned in section 7 subsection 1 that your acceptance must be in totality. Your acceptance must be absolute and unqualified. Then we have number 3, acceptance must be expressed in some usual and the reasonable manner. So if the offerer prescribes no mode of acceptance, the acceptance must be communicated according to some usual and the reasonable mode. Now, what are the usual and the reasonable mode? The usual mode of communication are either by the words of mouth you can communicate your acceptance, or either you can communicate your acceptance by posting a letter, or either you can communicate your acceptance to the offerer over the telephone. So these are treated as the expressed acceptance, but your acceptance may be implied. When acceptance is given by the conduct of the offeree, it is termed as implied acceptance. Then we have number 4, acceptance must be communicated by the acceptor. So for a valid acceptance, it is necessary that the offeree must communicate their consent of accepting the offer to the offerer. So his acceptance must be communicated from the offeree side to the offerer in order to constitute a valid acceptance. Number 5, acceptance must be given within a reasonable time. So to be legally effective acceptance, it must be given within a specified time limit if the time limit is prescribed by the offerer at the time of the offer. But if no time frame is given by the offerer, then acceptance must be given within a reasonable time, because an offer cannot be standing for an indefinite period of time. So it is your responsibility that either if the time frame is mentioned, then you have to accept the offer within the time frame as it is mentioned by the offerer. But if no time frame is given by the offerer, then you have to accept the offer within a reasonable time. Number 6, acceptance must succeed the offer. So acceptance must be given after receiving the offer. It should not precede the offer. It means, first of all, you have to receive the offer from the offerer. Once you have received the offer from the offerer, then you have to communicate your acceptance. That is why it is mentioned in point number 6 that acceptance must comes later, right? Acceptance must succeed the offer. Acceptance is always communicated by the acceptor after receiving the offer. So this is all about the offer and acceptance and the various rules regarding the valid acceptance and the offer, and how and when an offer can be lapses. Thank you.